Well, the time has come, guys. Newcastle United go into the Champions League for the first time in 20 years as they take on AC Milan tomorrow night at the San Siro. And of course, you can listen to the whole game live on the Toon Review with the full watch-along from around 5:15 tomorrow afternoon with, of course, a kick-off of 5:45. We have full build-up tonight at 7 o'clock with the match preview with me, Billy and Stato. That should be a great show. We've never previewed a Champions League game before, and it's extremely exciting. But that doesn't stop the news coming in at Newcastle United, guys. Today we have news on Bruno's contract, Joelinton's injury update, and how Eddie Howe was very emotional during the international break. So let's dive in with the daily news. Hi everybody, I'm Paul. Welcome back to the Toon Review YouTube channel and of course the Daily News Show. Now last night I know we did a poll on how you'd like us to do these Daily News shows, whether you'd want it live or pre-recorded. What we're going to do is we're going to keep the Daily News format as it is, but any big breaking news, we will go immediately live and have a chat with yourselves about that story. So any big breaking news, we will go live. However, this daily news format will stay the same. So I hope that's okay with yourselves. And before we get started in full, as usual, please do give it the thumbs up if you do enjoy today's show. I know I keep bleating on about it and you're probably sick of it, but it really is important that we keep the likes coming in on the channel. And of course, if you're new and you like what you see, hit that subscribe button and come be part of this amazing community. Completely free to do so. And of course, the notification bell, which will let you know when we schedule in any live shows or we upload any videos such as this one. Right, so there you can see down there at the bottom, Bruno's contract update. Now, the news has come through that Amanda Staveley has basically intervened in Bruno's contract talks to enable the stalemate to be broken. Now, as we know, there was reportedly some problems with money. Bruno wanted something, his agent wanted something, and Newcastle were offering different. That's all been sorted now, thanks to Amanda Staveley. Now, Bruno himself has thanked Amanda for stepping in and helping with the contract situation. Now, Newcastle United, of course, haven't released any details about Bruno signing a new contract, but as we heard last week, an announcement is imminent from the club, and we should expect something in the next few days or a couple of weeks regarding Bruno's contract, that he has indeed signed it. Now, it is expected that that contract will include a release clause. Disappointing, because I hate release clauses in contracts. I really do despise them, actually. But, you know, being as life is these days, a lot of these South American players, they do want release clauses because, look, they grow up supporting the massive clubs like Barcelona, Real Madrid. So if they came knocking one day, could you really stop them going? You know, a release clause kind of says, right, well, if you want to go, they have to pay the release clause. And then it stops any arguments between the player and the club and any difficulties. But what that release clause is going to be, I have no idea. I hope it's a very, very high amount for a player of Bruno's quality. So let me know in the comments if we are to put a release clause in there, what do you think that release clause should be? I'm intrigued to know what you guys think. I have one in my own head, but I'm very, very interested to know what you guys think. But this story came from the Telegraph, and it says Amanda Staveley is the one who helped break the deadlock between Newcastle and Bruno. They state that she personally intervened and told the Brazilian exactly how important he is to the club. It just shows how respected Amanda is by the players. The co-owner is hugely influential, and her words appear to be the reason why Bruno is now going to sign on the dotted line. I mean, we know Amanda plays a huge part at Newcastle United and probably the day-to-day running of the club. Let's be honest, she's very, very hands-on. We love what she does. We see her at the ladies' games, of course, and meeting the fans, and she's very interactive. And I think that's the big thing for Amanda Staveley. She's interactive with the fans, and, you know, we get to see the very, very best of her, don't we? She's at mainly all the home games that she can get to, and she's very, very much wanting to take Newcastle to that next level, along with the rest of the owners, of course. But Amanda is the one who really steers the ship in the right direction, and she's got a very good head on her shoulders. She knows what she's doing. She's a very, very strong businesswoman, and you know, we are going to reap the benefits of that, I'm sure, in the near future. But the fact that she stepped in to intervene with Bruno's contract just proves how she's really there for the players as well. You know, she's not just there for the fans or just to run the club. She's there if the players need them. And the fact that she stepped in now to help Bruno with the contract and make sure that Bruno knows how important he is to the football club. You know, he's seen Tonali, etc., come through the door, and maybe Bruno's thought, well, you know what, there's paid all this money for other players. Am I really one of the players at the club? And of course he is. We all know that. But Bruno's head might have been slightly turned. But now Amanda's come in and said, no, you are massive to this football club, young man, and we are going to get this contract sorted out. So it looks like it's all done and dusted. We just wait for an announcement from the club now that Bruno has signed on the dotted line with a new deal, but it will include a release clause. Now, of course, we heard on Saturday afternoon that Joelinton himself was on his way to Barcelona to see a specialist regarding a knee injury that he picked up on international duty. Now, there's been a lot of speculation about this, especially, saying that maybe Joelinton was injured before he went on the international break to play for Brazil. But the fact that he'd been called up and was going to get some action, maybe the injury just wasn't as bad as we possibly thought it was. However, he's come back, and Eddie Howe stated on Saturday that it would be a couple of weeks. We all know what Eddie Howe's couple of weeks are, because sometimes he'll say a couple of weeks and it could end up being 6, 7 or 8. Now, the news on Joelinton this morning isn't exactly great. The reports are saying that he will be missing for at least 4 Premier League games and 2 Champions League. It's a massive, massive blow. I mean, if you're saying 4 Premier League games, that will include, obviously, the Carabao Cup as well. So he'll miss a Carabao Cup game, 4 league games, and 2 Champions League games as it stands. Now, this is a massive blow to Newcastle, of course, because we've already got Joe Willock on the sidelines. And, boy, I think we missed Joe Willock massively this season. But Saturday's performance was interesting because, you know, a lot of people agreed that we kind of missed that drive that Joelinton gives us. I know Big Joe didn't play very well at Brighton but we know what he can do in that position. We know how strong he is in that position. And the fact that now he's missing, we did miss him on Saturday. We missed that push. We missed that physicality. Bruno did, back to his normal self. I thought Bruno did very well along with Sean Longstaff. Elliot Anderson was a bit in and out, wasn't he? So we definitely missed him. And now he's going to be missing for a certain period of time. I mean, a couple of weeks is suddenly, maybe he's turned into 3.5 weeks. We can only hope that the news when Joelinton sees a specialist is good and that we get him back on the field in due course and not too long. But it's not great news for Joelinton. It's not great news for Eddie because certainly the teams that we're playing in the Champions League and the games that we've got coming up in the Premier League, you know, for example, Sheffield United at the weekend. That is going to be a very physical game. Sheffield United are one of these teams who know they're going to be at the bottom, struggling at the bottom. So they're going to play that physical game. And, you know, when teams come to play physical games against us, we need our top guys who are going to be physical back. And Joelinton is certainly one of those guys. So for me, he's going to be a huge miss. But let me know what you think in the comments. Who would you play in midfield now that Joelinton's out for a period of time? Would you stick with Elliot Anderson or would you go with Longstaff, Tonali and Bruno? Let me know in the comments. Now, a quick bit of news on Callum Wilson, who, of course, played literally 100 minutes on Saturday. It's a long time since we've seen Callum play that amount of minutes in a game. Now, Keith Downey has reported this morning that Wilson trained away from the main group of players. Now, when I first read this came as a bit of a shock. However, I've since found out that this is quite normal for Callum Wilson. I don't know whether he's got like a sort of separate fitness regime to the main group of players because of his previous injuries. So maybe he's doing something different with the trainers to make sure that, you know, the right muscles are trained in the right way, if that makes sense. But he was away from the main group this morning, but I don't think that's anything serious. There's certainly nothing come from the club about an injury to Callum Wilson. Apparently, this is quite the norm, especially when he plays a long period of minutes. The following training session, he will do some work away from the main group. Now, for me, that signals that they've obviously got a separate training regime for Callum, and it's really nothing to panic about. I'm certainly not worried about it. I don't really expect Callum Wilson to start tomorrow night against AC Milan, which is why we didn't see Isak at all on Saturday. I expect Isak to start the game, but hopefully Wilson will be on the bench. We need that kind of impact coming on. Certainly the form Callum Wilson is in, but I don't think Eddie would expect that Callum can play 2 games in succession that quickly, given how long he was on the pitch on Saturday. So For me, it's not a worry. There's nothing come from the club saying he's injured. It was just Keith reporting that Callum was away from the main group this morning. But that is perfectly normal and is probably on a separate training regime just to make sure that the right muscles are being targeted and he stays fit. For me, that's a perfectly reasonable thing to do with Callum Wilson. And finally, Eddie Howe has basically admitted in a recent interview that Newcastle United is his life. And I think this is a wonderful, wonderful interview and gives us again another insight into just what Eddie Howe thinks of this football club. He absolutely adores it and will do his absolute best to get some sort of success at Newcastle United. Now, let's be quite truthful about Eddie Howe. He has been successful already at this football club. And I don't mean the fact in winning trophies and things like that. What he's done is take a side that was doomed for the relegation. He got us to 11th, and the following season gets us to a Champions League place. Now, if that was done by a Mourinho or somebody of that stature, they'd be singing his name from the rooftops. But again, because Howe he's an English manager, he's only managed at Bournemouth kind of thing. He doesn't get the same kind of applause, really, that the likes of Mourinho and that would, had they done that kind of job. There would be gods. So Eddie Howe has done a wonderful job since he's been here. And those people that have been saying, oh, he should be out the door because we've lost 3 games, you're absolute muppets, in my opinion. Because, there's no way this manager deserves to lose his job. And you kind of get an insight into what goes on with Eddie Howe in this report because he was so upset. The report goes on to say, Newcastle were not at the vintage best, but the Magpies bounced back from the disappointing defeat with a hard-fought 1-0 win over Brentford. And the overriding emotion for Eddie Howe at full-time was relief. Now, he said that many, many times after the game that he was relieved, but he wasn't the only one because the players were relieved. Everybody at the club was relieved, the fans as well. We just needed to get those 3 points to kickstart our season again after the 3 defeats, reset everything and start again. And that's exactly what Eddie's done and the team has done. He says, let me tell you, I haven't been cool the last 3 or 4 weeks because this is my life. He was talking to BBC Radio Newcastle when he said this. This is everything. So you're giving everything to try and be successful. And isn't it great that a manager comes out and says, it's my life. This club is my life. And, given everything to be successful. And I think, this just confirms to everybody that Eddie Howe will not sit and just think, yeah, everything's good at the moment. He will be his biggest critic when he makes mistakes, but he's also there 100% for the players and the football club. He went on to say, when things are not quite going to plan, I am very emotional. I am a very emotional person, but it's when you show that. That's the important thing. I certainly won't show it all the time, but I've got to remain calm at certain moments and use my emotions in others. And I think that perfectly says it all. Don't show your emotions in front of the camera. If you've got something to say in the dressing room, say it in the dressing room, behind the scenes where it stays in that dressing room. And the players have to respect that as well because whatever goes on in that dressing room stays behind those walls and does not come out that dressing room. And then Eddie Howe, when he speaks to the media or straight after the game, he will never throw his players under the bus. If he's got something to say, he will say it behind closed doors. But for those people that just think that Eddie, he isn't emotional, I think this puts that story to bed, quite honestly, because he's admitting that he is a very emotional person, but what he's good at is using that emotion in certain times and places. We see other managers going off it, after interviews after the game and things like that, keeping the players behind and certain things, and you just know. But with Eddie, you don't know what he's thinking, and you don't know what he's thinking in press conferences either. He's very articulate, he's very confident, and will keep things to himself. So whatever goes on behind closed doors with the players, it will stay there. And for me, after the rigmarole of all the falling outs with our previous manager, this is a breath of fresh air. And I think that gets more respect from the players than it would do, if he comes out and has a dig at the players. Look how much, Guardiola, for instance, for me, the best manager in the world right now is Guardiola, okay? But he got a little bit of stick for, if you can remember back the Burnley game that Man City played, and he was having a dig at Haaland on the pitch coming off at half-time. And even Shearer and that picked it up and said that was wrong. That should be done in the dressing room. You would never find Eddie Howe doing that. You would never find him literally dragging one of his players into the dressing room. It just wouldn't happen. And pushing the cameras away. Eddie is not that type of character. So I think this is wonderful news for the Newcastle fans to hear that, you know, this is his life and he will give it all. And we know he will. And I'm fully behind Eddie Howe as a manager. I think he's going to be an absolute legend at this football club. And I think he will win trophies here. But let me know what you think. Are you happy that Eddie's come out and said that? Because he's took a lot of criticism in the last few weeks by not showing emotion. But there's a time and a place, as Eddie says there, to use that emotion. Don't use it in public. Use it when it's necessary. So let me know what you think. But there you go, guys. That is the daily news for today. I hope you've enjoyed the show. As I said at the start, please do give it the thumbs up if you have enjoyed it. And of course, if you're new to the channel, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and come and be part of this incredible community on the Toon Review. And of course, hit the notification bell, which will let you know when we go live or we upload any future videos such as this one. If you're watching this on Monday, of course, 7 p.m. tonight, it is the AC Milan versus Newcastle match preview. I can't wait for it. You know, it's only a match preview, but it's got certain things about it. It's Champions League, guys. It's not just Premier League or a cup game. This is massive for Newcastle United and massive for us as a channel as well to be covering it. So don't forget, 7 o'clock tonight. Don't miss that if you're watching this on the Monday. But thank you very much, guys. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll see you soon. Take care.